Well, hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back. It's your boy, Oric Blackwood here. And we just went through all of the pillars of what the Metamorphosis Society stands for. We've got the disrupt, the awaken, the transform, and the thrive. You know, that's it. All right? You listened to that video. If you didn't, go back and listen to it. I want to dive in and kind of share my own personal journey with you guys on each of these stages and how it's affected me, but also how it got me here and this new journey and stuff. So strap in, honey bun, because it's going to be a wild ride of not only story time. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't have a filter, so you're going to be just as surprised as I am. And you're going to learn something along the way. I'm going to help you do the same thing that I did. And I want to deep dive into these pillars a little bit more so you know exactly what I'm trying to accomplish, what the Metamorphosis Society is, and that way you keep coming back for more because it's fucking awesome. Okay? Are you ready? All right. Without further ado, let's dive in. So the first pillar is disruption. Ooh, disrupt. And I'm about to disrupt your life real quick. Ooh, honey. Without anything, without the disruption, without the absolute shit show of life pulling the rug up underneath you, nothing else happens. If you don't do something that literally grabs you and shakes you out of it, you don't wake up. If the nightmare if something's chasing at you, whoa, and it causes you to wake up, you don't wake up. You got to have something to disrupt you, to be jolt you up. You're not gonna wake up from a nap. You know, I mean, you can naturally, but somebody comes and jolts you awake and you're like, what the fuck was that? That's the kind of disruption that I'm talking about. Okay, the stuff that shakes you to your core and changes you afterwards. Okay, how many of you have had that? Okay, if you haven't had that happen, are you really listening? Because the universe might be trying, but you're ignoring it. So the disruption thing, I used to hate them. I've had them in my life, and I'm going to talk about a few of them. But I've learned to love the disruption because it's like the moment. I like it in the tarot card. In the tarot cards, it's the tower moment. And I used to be terrified of them and be like, God, but I realized that's how we grow. Without the disruption, we can't wake up, we can't transform, we can't thrive in our life. So let's dive in a little bit with that one. So the disruption, that's the thing that causes you to, it can be shocking, it can be gentle, it can be rough, it can be the equivalent of throwing you down a damn mountain. It can be a lot of things. For me, I've had a few. There's two that stick out in my mind that were the big disruption moments for me. One of them was which, if you know my story, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into this story later into all the deets. And whew, honey, the tea is hot. But, if you know from my background, I come from aesthetics. And it was one of the top injectors. And I was able to look back and be like, I wouldn't have been where I was at with that if this horrible ass thing did not happen back when I first became a nurse. And that thing, I was able to look back and be like, huh. Now I'm like, thank heavens, that horrible, horrible thing that we'll touch on slightly, thank God that happened. Because if not, it wouldn't have ripped me off the path that I was on. I would have been a boring CRNA, probably broke as shit, stuck doing epidurals on pregnant women, screaming, love you, but no ma'am. Or behind 12-hour surgeries where I probably would have fallen asleep and it would have been detrimental to not only my health, but probably somebody's laying on the table. I'm too ADHD for that shit. And I followed one around and realized real quick when they were doing epidurals, I was like, no, that ain't me, kids. I'm out. But that's what I thought I wanted. I was like, I'm gonna graduate nursing school. I'm gonna go be a Vanderbilt trauma nurse, and then I'm gonna go to CRNA school. If you're a nurse watching around, a lot of you probably have had that same journey. And I thought that was planned out. Behind it, life came along and basically fucked me without the reach around and didn't even use lube. And I was not prepared for it. And it was horrible. Okay, we're gonna dive into that in a whole other podcast because if I start on it, I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole and that's not what this is about. But my life got disrupted in such a horrible way that at the time I couldn't see my way out of it. I mean, it was bad. And we're talking about lost career, completely could be over and you're a brand new nurse. And this is coming from somebody who has been successful, full ride to Vandy, top of his class at Belmont Nursing School, all this stuff. And then to have literally the rug pulled out from underneath me was wild. And I was not prepared for it. And that's the thing, it never prepared you for it. But I look back and look at all that change, and I went through the fucking trenches, and it lasted a few years. But then I found my way in a job that I thought I would never have, in a job that I thought, like, I was like, really, this is what I'm going to be doing? Like, it got me into practice management. I was like, I didn't go to nursing school for that. This isn't trauma nursing. Like, what am I doing? I felt like a fucking failure. And then, but that led me to where the guy was doing injectables, the oral surgeon, and I was like, oh, toxin filler. I was like, that's fun. And that sparked something in me. And then I come to find out, as a nurse, I can do that. And then that led to another thing and led to another thing. And then before you know it, I look up and I got all these followers on Instagram on big stages, and I'm considered a thought leader in the industry. And I look up and I'm, famous within my industry and all this stuff. And it's like, hell yeah. And that wouldn't have happened if my whole life wouldn't have been disrupted with something pretty shitty. So I'm able to look back on that now and be like, thank the heavens that happened, because I wouldn't be where I'm at. Which allows me to then look back at like the most recent one. If you know my story, about 2.5 years ago, I guess it was. About 2.5 years, 2022. In the summer, I almost died from a filler reaction. Yes, I literally woke up. Here I am at the prime of my career. And one morning I wake up and I literally look like, hey, you guys, from the Goonies, like swollen, the most severe pain. It was 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, wake up and I'm like, what is going on with my eye? This is awful. And I go look in the mirror, and it was fucking terrifying. Especially to somebody who's not only gay, who was so caught up in looks and in the industry of looks, but then to have my face have the reaction that I would never wish upon my patients, but it's happening to me. And I know with this certain type of filler, like, it's bad and it's complicated and it's happening around my eye. And I was like, oh shit. Anyways, long story short, I ended up in the hospital. My body started going into ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and went septic. Yeah, that was a great time. Anyways, got that handled. It was horrible. But that was my disruption moment. But I look back, and thankfully it didn't take me 10 years to look back and be like, oh, I'm glad that happened. This time, because of my previous thing, I was like, aha, the universe is shaking my core for a second to wake me the fuck up. And what better way to a gay man than to fuck with your face, honey? Like, you want to get my attention? Make me look like the hey, you guys from the Goonies. Like, yes, I'm going to pay attention. Like, no, we can't be doing that. I'm like, what is happening? So when that happened, it was a horrible situation. But I knew then, the other thing that happened, not only did I not recognize myself when I looked in the mirror, I also didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. Like, I didn't physically recognize myself because my face was distorted and swollen and awful, but I didn't recognize the guy staring back at me. I was like, who is this? And it was kind of metaphorical there for a little bit, but after I got everything calmed down, when I looked in the mirror again, I was like, who are you? Like, who have you become? I become this person I didn't recognize. The industry, I did everything because, like, the old school me was famous for the St. Ives video. If you know me, you know exactly what that is. And I also was like really known for tearing apart a multi-level marketing skincare company, Rodent and Fleas, as I like to call it. And I'm on their hit list. It's fine. It's still garbage. And St. Ives scrubs, put it the fuck down. Scrub your feet with it, not your face. And I was like, ooh, I'm spilling the tea and all these things. And that is what's getting the attention. That is what's happening. And then before you know it, I wake up and I'm like the Wendy Williams of the aesthetics community. And I'm like, I don't want to be known as that. Like, God love you, Wendy Williams, but like, she's kind of a bitch. And I'm like, I want to be the JVN, the lovable teddy bear. Like, I woke up and I'm like, you have this voice and this platform, but like, what the fuck are you using it for? Like, this is not it. Like, and I realized just boom, boom, boom. I'm like, wow, I'm waking up. I'm like, I don't even recognize the life that I'm in. And it was because of that disruption that shook me to my core to start the wake-up process, to start my metamorphosis, and to start the journey really that's gotten me here behind the camera with you today. And I don't know if you've had this kind of disruption, let me hear it in the comments. Like, what was your disruptive moment? Like, I want to know, like, what was the moment where you're like, it was like the shock to your system? For me, it's this one. And for others, it can look like, that what happens usually is we have these moments and then we kind of like shock to the system, and then we ignore what the universe is trying to say, and then we go back into our old ways. And then we'll have another disruption, and then we're like, okay, and then we go back into kind of like our normal ways, and we never kind of do anything with it. And Heidi, disruptions are going to get harder and harder and harder until you listen. You got to wake up to your purpose. And if you're on the wrong path, and you refuse to acknowledge that, like, it'll be a little bit harder next time. And then you need to listen the first time, because you don't want to wake up and then literally have your life completely fall to the shit show. And then you're just like, shit, I should have listened the first time, okay? So like, you're gonna get on the right path regardless. It's whether you listen or not and how soon you listen. But we tend to go down that path of ignoring it and getting back on the same road, same ways, going right back into what I call the matrix. And we got to stop doing that. What are some of these disruptive moments? Really, disruptive moments is anything that shakes your life to the core. Like you come into, you're like going around, you're like ordinary Annie over here, and you're going through your comfort zone, and then all of a sudden, something happens. That could be like you're burnt out. Your tower card moment, you lose your job, like the financial security goes away, you lose a relationship, something that completely falls apart in your life. Identity shattered, that was kind of what I had. Like I woke up and didn't even recognize who I was. You almost look like a stranger in your own life. You're like, what is this? It's all of a sudden, it's like, what life is this? Am I in a game? Like that's a big one. You start to question things. You start to question everything, and you're like, what is it? But then like you go back to sleep to it, and you're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. No, bitch, keep questioning. That is a disruption. That is why you're questioning things. It can look like, I can't live like this. Like you wake up and you're like, what is the point of this all? Like what is the point? Like, why am I doing? Is this all I do? I wake up, I do my 9 to 5, go home, eat, binge Netflix, and go home and sleep, and then rinse and repeat. You start to be like, is this all there is? Another one is like, it's the gift in crisis. That's another one that is kind of like whenever we look, it's like, you look back on it, like the gift was me losing my career so I could get into what I was supposed to be doing in aesthetics. But at the moment, it doesn't look like a fucking gift. It literally looks like my world's falling apart, and I want to hate everyone and just off myself. Like that's literally a disruption moment. And then ego death is another big one. That's when you put all the bullshit aside and you get really raw and real with yourself. But it's in the moment, it's easy to have those moments and go back to sleep, because we're in a society that wants to keep you asleep. They don't want you to fucking wake up. They don't want you to go on to the next phase. They want you to just not question things. No, you can't ask questions. Oh my God, in religion, like, but why do you believe that? Well, the Bible says so. Well, why are you asking why? You don't question God. You don't question the Bible. Like, they don't want you questioning things, because an asleep society is one that's easy to control. Oh, there's a thought. So that's why the Metamorphosis Society, we look at that first. We look at like, okay, cool. Like, what brought you here? And what's the disruption going on in your life? And we look at it not as something horrible. We can address that. And if things aren't good or bad, that's another conditioning that we'll get to. But we want to look at those moments of like, instead of being like, what's happening to me? It's, what can I learn from this? What is the message in it? Even the darkest of things can have that like silver lining to them. And I know that sounds cliche, but it really is. And that's why it's the first stage. Like, if you don't have these questions popping up, you don't have that tower card moment, you don't have something that pulls the rug out from underneath you, you're going to stay asleep. So I want to change the narrative on those disruptive moments so you're not afraid of them. Like, it's okay to question shit. If you're starting to wake up and be like, is this all there is to it? Good. Keep going. Keep asking. Keep questioning the norm. Like, if you wake up one day and you're just like, why? Like, fuck, I lost that career. Yeah, okay, accept that that's really bad and go through that grieving process. Go through those emotions. Emotions aren't good or bad. They're just energy emotion. You need to keep them flowing. But instead of being like, woe is me, I suck, what we do, this is horrible, this is all I've, no. It may be a thing of like you lost that job because it's not serving you anymore. Or you're about to wake up to your higher calling. Or you've got some work to do, honey, to help make this earth a better place to live in, because it is quite scary, okay? So the disruption part, I want to help cancel out, I'm like your noise canceling headphones. We're gonna cancel out that it's bad. It's detrimental. We're gonna honor that for sure, okay? Because nothing's good or bad. But we're going to change the narrative around a disruption. Disruptions are your clue that it's time to pivot, okay? So if you've had them, it's okay. And if you've had them in the past, look back on a little bit, like reflect. I love reflecting. Look back on being like, if that disruption didn't happen in my life, would I be where I'm at today? And that's a cool way to like change the narrative. I had to do that because otherwise I'm like, why the fuck would I go through all this stuff? Like, what have I done wrong? Why is this? But the universe knew I was gonna have to do something absolutely crazy to wake me the fuck up off of a path. Like once I choose a path, honey, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a professional porn star. Then there is no stopping me, honey. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do, under the table or not, to get there. Like there's no stopping me. So to get me off of a path that I'm like so stubborn that I'm gonna be on, it had to wake me up. It was like, okay, the universe isn't back and be like, okay, that's cute and all. You think that's the path you want. You think that's what it is. You have no clue what I'm about to show you, but I know to wake your ass up, we're gonna have to do something big. And the universe throws the big right in your life. And that's what happened to me. It was awful. Like a little tidbit about that. I literally was terminated from Vanderbilt Trauma, my dream job that I literally moved down here over something that I'll dive into. That's you're gonna hate them. It's awful, but welcome to the system. It was absolutely awful to be a nurse for a year and a half and then to lose your job, your dream job. That was your path. Like if I don't work here, I can't get to that next step. Like I can't get to the next step. And now I've lost this to somebody who has full ride, who's done wonders, like who's always straight A's, who's always like the good angel kid, like hardly ever done anything wrong in his life. Like I felt horrible when I drank my first Mike's Hard Lemonade. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm going to hell. Like, you know, like, and then I've done everything right. And then here this, like what the fuck, what did I do? And that was my moment where it was like, that had to happen. It had to be something loud enough for me to listen. But again, I'm alchemizing that. I'm able to look back on it and realize I'm thankful for that moment. I'm thankful I lost that job. Oh my God, could you imagine this kid still is a trauma nurse? Like, no. Within like a year and a half of critical care, I was already jaded. Like I was already jaded. I don't even know how you nurses out there that have done it for like 10 plus years in that thing. Like, I'm like, how do you, where, like your compassion level, like where is it at? Like, no wonder I saw so many on the trauma unit smoking and like taking medicine to cope. Like, whew, I'm thankful I got out of that. Like, I didn't realize too, like looking back on it, the death and dying was horrible for me. Like, I was like, no, I can like not take that home. Oh, bitch, I would go home and bawl my eyes out. And then I'm like, why am I anxious? Why am I depressed? Well, look what you're surrounding yourself with. I'm an empath. So like, and you can't leave that shit like at work. You just can't, it affects you. But I'm so thankful for that disruption in my life because I'm sitting right here. It led to aesthetics, and I'm so thankful that that disruption woke me up in aesthetics, that like I'm in this industry I don't like. I don't even recognize, this is toxic for me. And here I am behind the camera doing something that I love, helping others kind of go through the same journey that I did. But here's the thing, the journey doesn't have to be awful. I'm here to help you make it fun, okay? I'm here, I'm your master emotional alchemist, bitch. I'm gonna help you tune out the noise, and we are going to love on ourselves, and we're gonna make transforming fun. And this is how we do it, by getting real with ourselves and honoring it, and not a good or bad filter. We're just, just emotions are emotions. And we just relax into it and be like, hey, what lesson is this leading me to, okay? So if you had a disruption, I want to know what it is. In the comments below, tell me about it. What was that moment where the rug got pulled out from under you and the universe made you fall right on your ass? And we're gonna chat about it down through there. And know that that's just stage one. Yeah, you're like, oh, you're disrupted. Like, I got the rug pulled out. Like, is that it? No, bitch, you're about to have an earthquake, and then the ground's gonna fall out from underneath you too. Because here's the thing. It's not fun always, but it's necessary. And you must keep going. There's a reason, all right? So there's pillar one. It's a rough pillar, but it's a pillar that I wanted to make front and center because it doesn't have to be looked at in a bad way or with bad glasses. So there's a little bit of my story, and if you relate to anything, put it down below. And then we're gonna move on in the next video to the next pillar, which is the awakening, which is even more fun. So anyways, thank you for tuning in to that. Remember, you are loved. You are so enough just as you are. You're not broken. You are a success and progress, my dear. And you are worthy of everything that you deserve. So go out, do some good in this world, and love on each other, okay? All right, we'll see you next time. Mwah!